Psychic impressions to date. I've done several psychic sessions regarding the mystery of all the deaths around Lori Daybell. Somebody, especially if they are family or friends, is going to recognize the location that I describe. If you listen to the recordings, you could see they go slow. I'm in a semi-sleep state. So I'm just going to do an overview of what I've picked up so far. So several weeks ago, I saw the photo pop up on my internet, was immediately drawn to Tylee's eyes. I could feel her life and her sparkle and her effervescence in her eyes. And I saw the headline that her and her brother were missing. I clicked on the article, quickly skimmed it, see if they're still missing. Yes, they are. And I decided to do a session to see what I could pick up. And this is prior to any knowledge of the case. I also don't have network television in my house, so what I do pick up is off the internet. I asked if this girl Tylee was in spirit, and I received an affirmative response. I was shown something to do with sled dogs, or possibly neighborhood dogs tied to a toboggan. This could be a memory of somebody, or it could be a clue. I received an impression of running around at this beautiful lake. There was a sound of laughter there and a little girl that looked about 4 years old running around. The little girl looked as if she was from the past. And when I say that, it means not somebody's current 4-year-old girl, but it looked like a past thing. And that this possible cabin or lake house may have been the childhood family home of somebody related to this case in some way, but it's not clear who. Sometimes they will show you something just to put you in a location or to get you to say something else. So when you're listening to this, my interpretation could be wrong, and that's when mediums usually are wrong, is in their interpretation. So if somebody lived on a pig farm and I thought I saw a statue of a pig, well, that's because they live on a pig farm, but, I saw a statue of a pig. So they're trying to show me something. Another time, a person lived in Fallbrook, but what they showed me was a cornucopia, one of those horns with all the fall stuff coming out. So literally, this kind of work is done through telepathy with the spirits, and it's done mostly in images and symbols and, like photos or little video clips, that kind of thing. But the vibe of the place, it feels to me like where someone would build a second home. Now, saying that, you have to understand that I've only lived in large cities my whole life. And after the first reading, when I looked on the map in Idaho, it looks like a lot of it is that way. It's just really relaxing, lots of space and open areas. So for me, and the city dweller would perceive, oh, that's a place you go on vacation or something. So you also have to understand my perception. So I had not looked at a map of the state of Idaho prior to this reading. And what I described in the first reading was a lake that was different than other lakes because this lake was fed by a river and not by the ground, like most lakes that I've ever seen. I say, if you looked to the place where the river fed into the lake and went up anywhere 20 to 75 feet and then up the side, and in about 20 feet, that's where the boy was buried. The upriver might be wider. It is almost like I am upriver, but I see the other side, it might get wider after this narrower part. Now, after the reading, I looked up on Idaho, and apparently the entire place is full of rivers and lakes that are fed by rivers. The whole place, like there's tons of them. So I recognize that may not help somebody, but you know what? Some of the specifics that I say, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be somebody watching this who knows them, who knows exactly where I'm talking about. Okay, so I received the number 20 very clearly. 20 is very important in this case. It was emphasized. To me, it felt like they were saying from the river's edge, the boy was buried 20 feet up. Okay? But at first I was thinking go 20 feet into that neck where the lake turns into the river, or the river's feeding into the lake. Go 20 feet up that way and then go up. But I don't want to be that specific. I just want to say that when you reach a spot, which might not be that far, like 20 to 75 feet, but when you, what is the normal riverbank edge, you'd go 20 feet in. Later, I'm seeing there's a Highway 20 in Idaho, so, you know, wondering about that too, but just know the number 20 for sure. And I was seeing it in relationship to where his body is. So then a new image comes. So what happens is an image will form, and then I'll like say, and if there's more, they'll keep showing me more, or if that's it, then it will dissipate, and then they'll put in a new image. So the next image I received was a man and woman carrying one person, and that person was wrapped in black plastic with ropes tied about every foot around the outside of the plastic. It feels like the boy was buried there. Then I have a new impression. They take me and put me back at this cabin or a lake house. And I'm seeing a mountain way off in the distance, but it's a really faint image. So I'm thinking you might not even see it from there, and it might not be there. Like, I wasn't sure. Are they showing me this to emphasize to me that this is a river coming into the lake? Because before I was never seen anything like this. Or is it just in the distance? I'm not sure. I see, if you look at the, where the lake, if you look up a river where it feeds into the lake and you see like a large boulder on the right, that's where you stop there and go right up in there. So then I started, and the first one started seeing all kinds of really shocking, gross stuff that I myself don't really believe, but I had to say it because that's what I was seeing. And see, this is the difference. I could sit here and do a psychic reading, but if I had a friend or a relative, a coworker, anybody who had a close enough relationship with any of the victims or deceased people related to these two, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, then what they do is they'll give evidential details, but then they'll also give stuff that seems random and that only that person and the spirit person would know. So, like later when Chad Daybell showed me black and white tile, and then he showed me black and white behind the countertop, and later, like a week or so later, when I did start really looking into this case after the seance, the body cam image of the police showed you open where Charles Vallow got shot. You open the front door, there's the black and white tile. When the body cam goes through the kitchen, you see this kind of blurry but black and white behind the counter. And then in Tylee's room, the wall is black and white. So that confirmed to me personally, on a personal level, that yes, I was connected with Charles Vallow. And so that was for me. But that's what I'm talking about. So if there's somebody who knows him, they'll say stuff that we know, and then every single thing I'm getting, we know it's from them. And it's not going sideways. Because I can't even explain. I seriously doubt something I saw. I can't really believe it, but still I don't pick and choose. If I'm doing this, I just say what I see. Like I said, if there was an actual person that knew them, then what I might say something, and then every 2 or 3 things, even about the evidence of the crime, they would go back and show me something, evidence that that person knows, okay, yeah, we still have him. This is what he's saying, like that. I have reached out and extended an offer, and it still stands across the board, of all these people. If you are a friend or loved one or, you know, somebody, you have to know them pretty well. You don't have to know them super well, but you have to know them well enough to be able to validate evidence. But I feel like the father, the father with the last name Ryan, I think his name was Joe Ryan. I would think that from spirit, he would be watching what happened to his daughter. So any family members of him would probably be able to lend help with that. I would be happy to do readings from him. I know for sure Charles has, because 2 of the 4 times that Tylee came to me, this man Charles was with her, and that was before I ever even heard of him. I was not aware of this at first when I did the first reading. This man that was with her who had been shot, and he wanted to talk, and I wouldn't let him talk for a while, and then I let him talk for a little while, and then he was showing me some stuff, and I said, okay, well, I'll look it up afterwards, and if it's legit, then I'll type it up, you know, send it out or whatever, make it public. But most of it did in fact check for me, so I do 100% know that Charles came through. The thing is, like I said, with somebody who knew Charles, I mean, this somebody could be a friend, a co-worker, business partner, loved one, family member. It could be any of the above who's willing to assist, to let Charles speak from the other side, to hear his side of the story. I'm willing to do a free reading, more than one. I am positive Charles was watching every single thing that happened with Tylee and her brother Ryan, and he very much wants to come through, and he wants to. Okay, so anyway, so I was at the lake, seeing all this horrific stuff. I saw something called, oh, I don't even know if it's called a spitfire. I just feel like calling it that thing where you roast pigs in a fire or something. I saw something there. And I also saw a little garage or workshop and outbuilding. So even if this little house has its own garage or not, I don't know. But there's a little building that, and it's more like a workshop. But the outside of this little outhouse has pieces of trim work that could be like 1 inch by 2 inch long boards, like someone was making it to make it look good or something. I'm seeing possible evidence in a drain at this little outbuilding shed. Also a couple times, and I got chills there. I got a couple times I've seen a deep freezer related to the bodies. During the vision, it felt like the girl was placed near there, but it was a separate thing, causing me to wonder if they were murdered or else disposed of separately. So even during this reading, before I learned that there is even any kind of question about it, which I don't know, you know, whether Tylee left Arizona or didn't leave Arizona. At this point, all I'm seeing is these 2 kids are missing from Idaho. But what I was seeing, it was separate. It felt separate from the boy. So I kept trying to place them both at the same place, like what happened to you too. So I don't even want to talk about the method of deaths because it's gross and really doesn't matter if they don't find any bodies. You know, and obviously I hope she's alive. I would love to be wrong. Yeah. I've been wrong once, and I'd be happy to be wrong twice. I really want to be wrong, you know. I don't want to go there. Let's just focus. Okay. So I'm seeing, in the vision, I'm seeing the girl again. So I know this is going to be about the girl. It's either going to be the girl telling me something or about the girl. Either way. They're showing me the mother's motivation, that she did not want the kids to hamper up her life. She feels like a sociopath, and she feels slightly amused at the weakness of others. And then I actually start seeing my brother's murder, where the mother of his children believed he had a $500,000 life insurance that he was splitting up, and she abandoned her children, and I was seeing that. So they were showing me that. It's not like, ooh, I'm going into my memories. It's they're showing me that. So I'm getting this feeling of a sociopath. And then later I started getting additional impressions of the mother also being a psychopath. So if you had a sociopath to start with, and then she became delusional over time, obsessed with these books, then she becomes a psychopath. So she's a sociopath that lost touch with reality, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I'm a former social worker, and I have worked with in the system. But this is only my opinion. Okay. Anyways, next they show me the house again, or the feelings that I picked up or whatever. Next they show me the house again. I feel like there's a front porch area. It's not a raised up porch, it's a flat porch like concrete. I cannot even be 100% sure it's attached to the house on the lake. I feel like it is, but I'm not sure. Because I'm seeing it separately. I'm not seeing this whole thing. They're showing me this porch, this flat porch. It might have maybe like a foot-high rim of, like how they'd put a brick thing to make it feel like a patio, maybe a couple chairs, something like that. Now, you think, who cares? Well, if somebody was there looking and they saw all this in this little outbuilding with these stripes, they'd be like, oh my God, let's walk to the edge, look to the left, down there where the river feeds in, and bam, there it is. So, but the point of it all was that I have been really given strong confirmation that somebody who knows, I feel like saying Chad and Tammy Daybell, somebody who knows all these people will actually know exactly where I'm talking about. Now, so when you're doing psychic work, you get one image after another, like that, and sometimes they blend together. That's why it's the mistakes are usually, once someone's developed as a medium, the mistakes are usually in the interpretation. So I must feel like this little house may have been built between the 50s and the 70s. Feels like it was once a one-story, and possibly somebody later added a second story and maybe even still have two colors of paint. If the bottom story has one color and perhaps they left the top like stained wood, but not sure, I'm not positive. But there's just something like that where you could tell they added maybe a little bit up. It felt like the man went to the location where he buried a body more than one time. It felt like the girl is crying and conveying, I cannot believe my mom would do that to me. So I'm seeing Tylee again, and it feels like she bites her nails. That could be evidence for somebody who knows her. Because again, Tylee comes through really strong, and she really wants to talk about this. So whatever your religious beliefs are, once you go on the other side, you realize that most of the structures to worship God and be in this love light are man-made, and they're influenced, but you're over there and you realize, oh, okay. It's similar, like a lot of religions, it's similar. I probably shouldn't get into all that, but it's, Tylee wants to talk. And if I could get anybody that knows her, that's willing to have a reading, we can get my mediumship, evidential mediumship is literally over 90% accurate. And the only people who've like went home and taken my readings and went line by line, it's 98% accurate. Now with the psychic, I'll be happy if 50% is accurate, because I could have her and then I could, even if my mind will go, no. And then I'm like, why am I even doing this? It just, but I am also recognized as extremely good at this, so that's why I'm doing it. So here we go. So, okay, at that point, the spirits were waiting to see if I could go forward or if I needed to stop, because it was just trauma energy. And people go, why don't you just go back and check? Go back and check. No, yeah, if you really are going to go in there, you know what? You're going to be sitting there in all this energy of what happened. The energy of murder is horrific. And it actually could take even, you have to turn around and go do some really positive stuff, like go dunk in the ocean and stuff just to get rid of that energy. So it's pretty serious. And that's why I also am, after this, I don't plan on doing any more unless I have a family or friend of any of these people who is willing to do readings. And I would really like to do readings on every single one of them. Joe Ryan, Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow, and the children. So anyways, I'm doing this, and I'm now back. I feel two spirits are now in front of me too. And there was an adult male with Tylee who I later identified to be Charles Vallow, but like I said at that time, I did not know about him. So I really didn't want to give him to talk. I just figured he was with her. I did not know who the adult male was. I didn't allow him to talk at first. Later I did allow him to connect and talk, and he showed me a few things. I told the spirit man, which I later confirmed to be Charles Vallow, that I would look online at what he was telling me, and if I could confirm some facts, I would send the information public. I then was shown a Malibu Ken doll. I felt like I'm gliding fast if I was on a ski, but I'm going down the side of a cliff. So the adult male shows me, he's looking out a window, he's drinking coffee and looking out his kitchen window, and a car pulls up. The important thing was the man is standing at the kitchen sink. He has a cup of coffee. They seem to, I don't think they would show me this if it wasn't important, but the color of the mug was either like a clay orange, clay red, or mucky brown, like a grayed down color. And then he was waiting. He knew someone was coming and he was waiting for the person. So I think that must have been Alex who they were showing me doing that. And then again, I'm shown this husky dog in the toboggan again. Let's tie a husky dog by a harness to a toboggan, I think the man is showing me. So that means something to somebody somewhere. I do know that. I just don't know who. I was seeing somebody get shot, but the details I was seeing involved a rifle, not a handgun, so it is not exactly what happened. However, I knew I had been shot because I felt very sick to my stomach as I was laying on my side. So the firearm was not correct, and I don't know if there's how that ties in, but he was shot, that's for sure. So then I'm receiving very clearly, very big chills. The woman is no victim. This is all from Charles. The woman is no victim. The mother of the children is the one that killed them, says this man who got shot. I'm getting chills now. Lori killed her children, according to Charles. So I didn't know what to make of this guy. And, you know, because it was a little outrageous for me to think a mother killing her children. And so I requested to speak to the girl again. I wanted to ignore this guy for a minute and ask the girl again. So what happens next, it's a blending of information because the spirits want to tell me something they're trying to get across, and I'm not really cooperating. I mean, I am because I've invited them, but I'm just like, who is this guy? That's was my thought, you know? So what they did was they blend. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Thank you, sir. I want to talk to a little boy if he's in spirit. I still have never connected with the little boy, so, you know, that gives some hope he's still alive. But I don't know. So anyways, so they showed me the little boy, and they showed me this little boy playing with his toys, and then all of a sudden there's a loud bang, it's a gunshot. He's startled and turns around, feels like, oh, so then I assume that's the daughter being shot, because at this time I'm still thinking that's all I'm doing is trying to figure out what happened to these children. I'm not realizing this is a big, huge, convoluted story. And what did I say? It feels like the daughter was shot right there when you come in front door about 10 feet, like right in front of the kitchen. Like, I don't know why someone would do a murder just like that right there where there would be a big mess. Okay, so it was Charles that got shot right inside, 10 feet inside the front door, right by this kitchen area thing. It was Charles. So regardless of me saying, listen, mister, you just go away and I'm going to talk to this kid, they're going to like, okay, here's the kid, boom, and here's the gunshot. So that's how mediumship works. And the reason I believe, at the time, I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't thinking anything. I just say what I get. But now I'm sure it was Charles Vallow, because after watching the webcam and seeing the black and white tile and then seeing the location of his body, that was about him. Then I just saw a bunch of fast images. And you know what? I don't even think I need to repeat them here. It's just about, like, someone else dying. The girl. Them. I just seen all this stuff, and I don't want to talk about it, as I don't think it matters at this point. I think, obviously, if they don't have the bodies of the children, we can all just hope that they're still alive, and they're in this happy prepper camp, and all this. Having said that, I don't know. We can all hope they're still alive. Let's just leave it that way. Confusion. Okay, suddenly they put me back at the lake, and they showed me some instruments dropped into the lake. Okay, so that's essentially the end of reading number 1. So the next thing I did was, every week I facilitate a mediumship development group, which is spirit communication and messages group at my house. I've been doing this for over 5 years, at least weekly. And during my 15 minutes, I asked for Tylee Ryan. I gave them no other information than that. I did not tell them who she was or that she was missing or anything like that. So this is what they picked up. First, somebody saw a baby being held in hay and the baby slipping through the arms of somebody holding it. Which I later, I think that's referencing a mother and her child. They saw 2 sawhorses, something getting mailed, something hit in the face like a plank that wasn't expected. She did not expect it, not at all. She did not know to look out for it. She trusted the people who did this to her. So right away they're talking about her being dead. Well, obviously, okay, if it's a spirit thing. But they're picking up that she was murdered. I never said she was murdered. Some gross dark-haired guy, which is probably Alex. Orange construction sign and construction helmet. Construction sign says deer crossing. So that leads me to believe that she was killed in Idaho. Even though this one spirit on the EVP says she was never left Arizona, that she was murdered there. But any spirit could come on the EVP, and I lend the credibility of them at about 20%. And I led the credibility of mediumship at over 90%. And then I probably put the credibility of the regular psychic impressions maybe 50%, just because the mind can kind of wander and freak out and stuff. Just how like they did the information when I said, no, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to the boy. And then they're like, show me that. Okay, so anyways, she sees deer and they look like big antlers, but they're pointy. She thinks they're different than regular deer antlers. Somebody on one of the YouTube videos later said that was an elk, but we don't know. She's just seen these big pointy antlers. She's getting a strong pain in an area of her face. I'm touching here, but I don't know where. It's like she's walking through a house that's being built. Someone else says it's a heavy blow. I'm assuming it's a man only because it's such a heavy blow that it crushes it. She says she doesn't have any energy about it being a man, though. She just assumed that because of the strength of the blow. So a lot of times when you're really right, they'll give you all these big chills and stuff. And she wasn't getting that energy about it being a man. So it may have been Lori herself who did that. As I was getting to that, I don't know if it was Chad or Alex, that if that's what she wanted was to murder her children, they would help her, but she was going to have to take the first steps herself so she would not be able to blame it on anybody else later. So then I asked my group possibly what kind of area where her body was put. This girl, NG, she said where they were building houses. Now she's brand new, and the other two ladies have been there for approximately 3 years. So they're further along in development. So how much stock you put into things matters. Like this one, she's been here for 3 or 4 years. It says, when you say that, I go back to the antlers like deer crossing. And NG, the new girl, says, when it happened, there was houses being built like new housing tracts. Now, you can throw that away or keep it. So this is what you do. You see all these clues. Somebody knows somewhere, but you also have to take it with how it was received. Colette has an M, whoops, but she didn't know what that was too. Okay, so after that, the next morning is when I decided to start reading about it and looking in the groups and seeing what was up. It was then that I realized that this involved multiple states, multiple agencies, and more victims in addition to the children, so I decided to put the info online. I have info from other murders, actually quite a few of them, but I've never put them online, but I just decided to do that because there's all these different states involved and all these different victims. It's mind-blowing. So soon after that, I was at my sink doing dishes. I felt Tylee come into my awareness, and I told her I would meditate later, and if she came to me then, I would do another session, and then that was session 3. It felt to me like she was actually showing me, in fact, if you look, the one of session 3 is actually mostly good memories. They're the like kind of life memories, and maybe that is to confirm to people that it was actually her. So I'm not going to repeat all those. You can look at session 3 if you want to see about that. Because I'm trying to stick to here possible clues. She was just showing me like a lot of stuff, like happier times swimming, throwing a gold or chain trinket into the pool, diving for it, hanging on some man's back. A lot of love sent out to people. She's just waves of love, waves. She's just a good person. She cares inside. So she's different than her mother in that way. She shows me a pad of paper, 5 inches by 7 inches with a bunch of writing on it, and flips the top over. Now, some stuff you're like, so what? But you know what? I say what I get, and everything means something. It's all done for a reason. Sometimes even as the medium, we don't know. But I just say it because somebody else knows. It means somebody to somebody. She actually showed me a man taker where another man is up what might be called some rafters and is working on the framing part of a house. So the regular part of the house has its sides, and then the part under where the roof is, where it goes like that part is open and it's being framed. It's a garage or a warehouse. She was also wearing some black sandals, and she didn't like wearing them there, like they weren't appropriate for that area. So I think she might have been not happy about that. So the info on that session that thought might be relevant for clues was, it felt like I'm in Arizona. Now, I also see something different than where Charles got shot. I'm seeing, it feels like one of those manufactured homes or mobile home or something. I'm not saying it's where she lives. She's just showing me. And beyond that, she's showing me Arizona just goes and goes and goes, just like open land. And you would be able to drive an ATV in that kind of land. Off to the left, there's a hill or a mound big enough, and it feels like there might be a cave or something that feels like a cave. Someone wrote a note. I feel like something is buried there in a shoebox there. So, and at that point, I'm like, is Tylee here with me? I got big chills. And I said, Tylee, I want to know what you would say to your mother. And all I saw was it was just like all this blood dripping. So, that's what she would say to her mother. Oh, and then I felt her like, standing there and laying there. So she was laying there next to me and she was going like this. Like this. So I don't know if anyone who knows her remembers her doing that. But I did get chills, and I do know it was her. Okay, so I was doing that, and then I decided to do a pendulum reading with her since she was there. And pendulums are basically a yes or no method. It's you hold this little thing and it'll go round for yes and like that for no. Actually, you can use them other ways, but that's what I was doing. So I confirmed, I said, Tylee, do you want to talk about this? Because to me, this is traumatic, and people go, oh, just let her rest in peace. And they don't understand the spirit world. They don't need rest because they have energy bodies. It's the physical body that needs to sleep, okay? So anyways, so I confirmed that Tylee really strongly wants to talk about it, like really strongly. The two people who like really want to talk is Tylee and Charles. I have never felt the presence of the boy. So, let's see. I asked her, was her mother present when she was murdered? And the yes was very, very strong. Like you could feel the energy of that thing going around. I asked her if her mother murdered her, and it was going around as a yes so strong that the chain was like kinking up. Not kinking up, but rubbing on itself. I asked her, was this part of a cult murder? She said no. I said, did this cult have anything to do with it? She said no. And those were very strong. Now, since that time, just even in the last couple of days actually, they released in the media that Charles had a $1 million life insurance policy, and that was actually likely the motivation of his murder. But the string of murder starts because it feels like they didn't plan on the kids. The whole thing with the bat and all that, it feels to me like Tylee wasn't part of it. They just used her. They just used her running out to add to their story. And then they were concerned because obviously she's stressed out, she's resisting, doesn't want to be part of it, and they're trying to convince her she is. I'm not sure if they had not seen it, if she would have murdered them or not. I don't know. I don't know that. We'll have to see that. I don't know that. But she also may have been angry after when they didn't get the life insurance. Angry. So her motivation for killing Tylee was to keep her from talking, and for killing JJ was to get even with Charles and possibly his sister or whoever for not giving her the money that she thought she earned by murdering this Charles. So, I mean, you're talking about the mind of a sociopath. They don't have feelings like other people. And, I don't know. So I was correct. Okay, so then I did a couple more just quick ones. And I asked to speak with Tylee Daybell, and I did connect with a woman, but it was lighter than those two. So I'm asking for that woman, whereas those other two, Tylee and Charles, who come in together, they want to talk. They come through so strong. She came through. She showed me some things, you know, important. She showed me that she's very, well, I see her as being very efficient, organized. Like I saw a dry erase board where there was like these lines and you could write what you want to do, and then there's like 2 columns and you could take a magnet and put it to the other one. She showed me that. But she showed me some other stuff. I didn't write it all down, but she showed me, I recorded everything. So I have all these recorded, but I don't really think people want to listen to these of me in a semi-sleep state droning on. So I'm just going to review everything here. She showed me in Chad Daybell's mind, he did her a favor because she would have been humiliated if he left her. So he is an out-and-out sociopath, and Lori is a psychopath, even more dangerous. So she was showing me how Charles's mind works. How Chad's mind works. Not that she agreed with it or anything, but that's what she's showing me what I think. But this was really important. I'm getting chills again. This is super important to Tammy. Probably as much as more important than anything else. Tammy does not want her children to feel guilty for, I'm getting full body chills, for not supporting Chad when he goes to prison because he is guilty. And she, Tammy, does not want this to be a defining moment in the lives of her children. I have just chills, literally, from head to toe. My entire face, my neck, all over my body, all over both legs. This is telling me, like, please emphasize this. Please, my children need to know. I want them to go on with their lives like that. Like everything I just said. She does not want her children to feel guilty for not supporting Chad when he goes to prison because he is guilty. And Tammy does not want this to be a defining moment for the lives. And that's exactly how she gave it to me. So what she was showing me too, Lori feels like the catalyst. The energy of them both. Chad is no pushover. He is callous and cold. And Alex, Lori's brother, knows how to kill people as well. This is before it became clear, or before I would realize that, I don't know. She showed me that Lori and Chad, she showed me Lori and Chad laying on a bed in Hawaii practicing a double suicide by poison. As well, if they feel like they are going to be arrested, they need to be arrested without prior warning to prevent that. Now this is really weird. Tammy showed me that the poison that killed her was related to octopus venom. Okay, no, that's making a real leap of interpretation. She showed me, I'm like, okay, well, what was the poison? And then I start seeing an octopus. Now, I'm not a person who knows anything about poison. In fact, I don't think I've ever even Googled it before until now. I Googled it and probably spent less than 2 minutes. And afterwards, I was like, looked up octopuses because I didn't even know if there was any poison ones. And sure enough, there is. I don't know how anyone can get octopus venom. But except Lori goes to Hawaii, so it could be true. Or maybe she was saying Lori's like an octopus with her venom. I don't know, but it's something to keep in mind because it's come in since then too. But the other thing I saw separately from Lori was last night when I laid on my couch just for like 10 minutes, I was giving 2 more symbols. And one was, they showed me this 1994 dime I have. It has the symbol Mercury on it. It's a person, Mercury. It's for symbol Mercury. And I wasn't sure when I saw that, and this wasn't this wasn't while I was connected to the spirit of Tammy. This is separate yesterday, but I'm just adding it now because we're talking about the poison. after I saw that, I looked up on the map Mercury, Idaho, and because I looked on the map now a few times to see if I could recognize the lake, and apparently every lake in Idaho is fed by a river, and they pretty much look the same. But I do know that somebody who knows these people knows exactly where I'm talking about, or at least has a good idea, and they can contact the proper authorities about that. But the next day I would see the symbol Mercury. So then after that I went on the EVP, because even though some different spirits come on there and lie sometimes, a lot of times they do tell the truth. Like in that Jamie Kloss case, it's so hard to hear. Like I wrote an email to its detective. I still have the email, time, state, date, proof. And I said I figured out the guy's name. It's Peterson. It was Patterson, you see. It's hard to hear. You can listen. I've got a bunch on my YouTube channel, these EVPs. They're hard to hear, but if you do it enough, you can start understanding them. But then again, that doesn't, when people come through the spirit side on the EVP, there's a whole different, I could tell different spirits can come through. It is not the same team. Like when I do mediumship, I'm working with my spirit team. I have guides and gatekeepers, and I pray. I'm Christian, so I call in Jesus Christ and the archangels, and I call in my daughter, and I call in, all the higher guides and teachers that work for the vibration of love, and that works good. But on the EVP, different ones seem to be able to get through no matter what I say. So either way, I still enjoy talking to those ones on the EVP too. I've learned a lot from them. But he pointed out that the mercury that I was seeing referred to the poison. So if that is true, then, and he said it was a mixture of a few things. It wasn't only one thing. Oh, I forgot to even write this on here. See, there's a couple things. I think there was a whole nother reading with Charles I totally forgot to put on here, but it's too much. And so anyways, Tammy showed me two really important things. She showed me, these pencil holders that are hard vinyl, and you can buy them for like $1, and you snap off the thing and stick the pencils in that way. It feels like he might have wrapped a little of this poison in some saran wrap and stuck it down there and forgot about it or something. And you wouldn't see it if you just click the top. You'd have to look down it. So I would encourage anybody who is doing that to actually look for that. That's real serious. It's real. It's real. I'm actually very accurate on that kind of thing. It's very important. That could be some of the actual poison left over, and I do have some chills. Yeah, I got chills on my legs. Whoever searched that house should go back and find that the pencil holder and look down the bottom of it. Also, what was super important related to Tammy was a well. I don't know if the well is on her property or if somebody else knows what I'm talking about, but literally a water well. Very important related to Tammy. So anyways, then I'm tuning in with Tylee again. She's trying to be funny. And sometimes spirits, surprisingly, you wouldn't know this, but okay, as a medium, I could get stressed out going into a murder scene. Obviously. It's my consciousness. It gets affected. So the spirits will show you irrelevant stuff. They'll show you stuff to kind of help you lighten the mood, or they'll do that if the sitter, which is the person, say if I had a person who knew the victims doing it, which would make it over 90% accuracy, but I don't have that right now, and I have again extended an open offer for that, for free, for no charge. But Tylee, okay, she was showing me. She's trying to be funny, and then now I don't remember because I wrote this. Maybe her was trying to be funny, and then the spirits were showing me. I'm not sure, but They're showing me how Big Bear Lake in California is up, like on a crater or a mountain. And they told me to look at Roseburg, Oregon, and draw a straight line across Idaho on a map. So just take that for what you will. Okay, so then I was seeing a building, cinder block, either tan or brownish peach, flesh or salmon color. I was hearing different stuff like Corrigan Road, getting a lot of elk stuff, Blackfoot stuff, like getting all these names. Like this kind of stuff is ridiculous because after one of these sessions, and I think this was an early one when I hadn't looked at the map. I know it was. Because I was like, oh, good, I got a name. And then I look on there on the map on Google, and apparently there's probably a dozen places named Blackfoot. In fact, there's hundreds of square miles, Blackfoot this, Blackfoot that. So that won't do it, but somebody somewhere does know what I'm talking about when I talk about that kind of little house or cabin on the lake. To me, I've gotten this a few times that with Tylee, they drugged her first before they murdered her. But you know what? None of that's relevant. I didn't even want to talk about it. Yesterday when I was laying there okay, so we got the mercury. So that was yesterday. I was just laying there and was being shown this dime I have with mercury on it. I've shown the, statue of Mercury. And, I didn't know at the time what it was for. The spirit on the EVP said it was the poison, referring to the poison. So I don't know if they gave it to Tylee too before they did other things they did, or if they only gave it to Tammy. I'm not 100% sure what he was saying, but he told me poison. Okay. And I know it sounds weird, but again, I was seeing this octopus venom. It's really weird. Now, like I said, the EVP, I take the EVP with a grain of salt. I've had spirits come on there and tell me out and out lies. I also have had spirits come on there and tell me very accurate information about all kinds of things, not even related to unsolved crimes, but just all kinds of things. Like I've pulled out the EVP at the end of a reading and let a kid say hello to her mother, and the kid said some nickname that, called her mother Mother Bear or whatever, and I guess that was her nickname for her. So all the time, but it's not a sure safe. It is literally like a CB radio, okay? And it's like, who stepped up to the plate? It's different. It's a tool. Because he was trying to claim that she never left Idaho and that she was murdered at that house where Charles was murdered at. That's what the guy on the EVP, the spirit on, and it wasn't any of those people related to the case. So I like literally. I think that's it. Oh, I want to just say this. I thought this was really nice because this is what somebody said in my circle. This is what he said. I'm just going to read this. I get this. It's about Tylee. I get this this person's sole purpose is a very giving, a light, bringing to others. It is unassuming. The feeling I have is that the people she encounters, she gives them this kind of light, this kind of self-acceptance, gentleness, compassion, kindness. She shares it not in a real strong way. Just a joking way. Just her whole energy is bringing light to people around her. I see her connecting with a lot of different people. but just loving and giving to a lot of people. She is really a gem, but she does it in such an unassuming way that people don't notice. But her soul is about giving to people in their lives to love themselves. So, you know what? I'm going to say this one more time. Try not to cry. Hang on. Oh, so I don't know if I told you this. I'm a spiritualist reverend. Okay, so what I do, I take very seriously. I've had years of training, so I already have, you know, these gifts. That, you know, my parents were like Christian. I went to Christian school and stuff like that, but so at spiritualism, they believe that these are gifts. And anyways, I'm a reverend at a spiritualist church, and this man that comes to my circle, he is also a reverend at a spiritualist church, and he is so deep. Like, he'll sit there in the circle and be so quiet, but then when he does talk, he's talking about the soul. Like, he just goes so deep into, like, what's really going on with the soul. And I'm going to read this one more time because I think Tylee deserves this. Seeing how she didn't get to have her life. Okay? So let's just go like this. I'm going to do this good. What he says when I asked for Tylee at the circle. I get this person's sole purpose is a very giving light, bringing to others